still hard to believe we are looking at our own backyard. The deadliest terrorist attack in the history of this country in downtown Oklahoma City.
Casualties, very hard to say, certainly approaching 100 in terms of injuries, many of them critical. Fatalities, a number of reports, none of them absolutely confirmed yet, including one report that 6 children were killed.
In Oklahoma City, more than 200 FBI agents, 45 U.S. Marshals, and dozens of ATF agents are now involved in a massive manhunt for the bomber.
I'd been a trooper for 18 and a half years. You never know what you'll encounter. You get to meet a lot of nice people, but you get to meet some evil ones too. So I'm traveling on the interstate, and I come up behind this old yellow Mercury. I noticed there's no license plate on the rear bumper. So I became a little suspicious that maybe the car was stolen and began what I thought was just another routine traffic stop. I got out and I yelled for the driver of the vehicle to get out. And he's not immediately getting out of the car. It put me on high alert. He looked like a clean-cut young guy. I mean, he's about 6 foot tall, slender, military-style haircut. He has military boots on. I could see a bulge under his jacket, I believe to be a weapon. And I pulled my weapon. I said, I need to look under your jacket. He slowly unzips his jacket, and it's just starting to pull it back when he looks me in the eye and he says, I have a weapon. I was telling him, get his hands up and turn around. He says, well, my weapon is loaded. And I nudged him in the back of the head with the barrel of my pistol, and I said, well, so is mine.
Unfortunately, there are still people trapped in the Alfred Murrah building.
They are now delaying the rescue efforts that were going on, the evacuation efforts, and as you can well imagine, in these kinds of critical emergency situations, time really is the difference between life and death.
As soon as she comes back, then get her up on a live shot.
Hey, I have to move. I've got orders to move. Latest information from the scene. This is according to a sheriff's deputy there. More devices found inside the building.
I don't want you to be in danger, Dave. We're getting confirmation now that 2 more devices have been found in the building.
What's Rick's last name? Rick from ATF. Rick, FBI. What's his name?
Just thought, what is so evil in someone's heart that would make them do this? I mean, what? Who are you?
We do need to send producers down to the trucks. So you guys figure out, you want to go down?
And my news director's like, get down there, get mic'd up. So if they come to you, Robin, you'll be ready to go. We're in the car heading to downtown Oklahoma City. I can remember someone on the radio said, we've gotten a call. We think this is something from the Middle East.
There have been some reports that police are looking for a light blue pickup truck with 3 Middle Eastern men inside.
Stand by, Robin.
When I first got there, people were running for their lives.
We had had word from the fire department that there were people still trapped inside the building. And that's what makes you so darn mad, knowing that people are in there that need help, but they can't get to them. We also are getting word that there might be an ATF agent trapped on the 9th floor of the Alpha Memorial Building.
My friend Luke Franey was still trapped on the 9th floor. And I was hunkered next to a wall waiting for the blast to go off. And I put my finger in one ear and had the radio on the other. And I kept trying to hit him on the radio, Luke, Luke, and I did that for about 5 minutes. But nobody's answering. That's when I'm thinking the worst.
There was people screaming for help, people screaming in pain. To see literally everybody sprinting away from the building was terrifying. Because at that point, it really sinks in that you're trapped, hanging out the window on the 9th floor. That's when I got scared, because it was like, wow, this is really happening, and I've got to make a decision here. The bombing cut the ATF office in half. There was a large portion of the floor missing, maybe 10 or 15 feet. I didn't think I could make it across. Things flash before you, and you think about your children, you think about, you know, your loved ones, your family, whether you're gonna get to see them again. I'm literally thinking that there is another bomb with a timer on it, and there is a countdown. And I think I'd rather die trying to get out than going through another explosion. But it looked like you literally took the entire inside of the building, put it in a blender, turned it on, and dumped it back out. And you've got a 20 to 30 knot Oklahoma wind blowing. And the whole building was just shaking. It was going back and forth like this. I was having to kick and punch my way through drywall. Eventually, I was able to open the door, and I was like, all right, there's a stairwell. So I'm thinking, beat the clock. I am literally sprinting down the stairwell, holding onto the rail, and I'm running down the stairs, and I start kind of slipping and sliding. And I stop for a minute and look, and I realize that the handrails, you know, are covered in blood. Stairwells are covered in blood, and I was just like, oh man. So I just kept going, and eventually got down to the 2nd floor where the plaza was, and that door opened, and I ran away from the building. As I come out to the area where the agents were standing, they were all there looking up at the 9th floor because they had no idea, you know, I had gotten out. And I walk up and grab Mark by the shoulder.
And I look, and there's Luke.
That's when my knees kind of buckled a little bit. Mark was very happy to see me, and I was very happy to see him.
I was so relieved that he was fine, but it's like, I'm sorry that I didn't do more to help you.
Why did myself and others get out of the building, and why did a lot of other people not? And I don't think you ever get the answer to that.
We got it. Current post has been moved to northwest 9 Broadway.
Friends that I'd just seen the day before, they're no longer there. You just kind of take all that and you compartmentalize it the best you can, and then you tuck that away as deep as you can and go do the job you were hired to do.
I mean, if no bomb. Blew the whole no bomb. Move back. Move back.
The bomb tanks have cleared the front of the building for rescue operations.
Can someone pass this to the engagers right away?
All right, Governor, we have some, if you can hold on the line, we have some new information for you.
The police have confirmed down at the federal building that they have disarmed a second device.
It was a great relief that I learned it was not actually a bomb. It was a mock-up of a missile that was used for training by one of the agencies in the building. Now we have to solve this and solve it as quickly as possible. For me, the pressure was truly overwhelming. You're talking about a massive crime scene. I was walking west, roughly a block away from the Murrah building, and I come upon a couple of agents and a deputy sheriff that are surrounding this metal piece that's laying there in the street. They told me that more than likely, this is something that exploded from the bomb itself. It became clear that this is the rear axle out of the vehicle that was used to deliver the bomb. The VIN number is printed on all the major pieces in a vehicle. I said, guard this with your lives. This could be the most important evidence that we have in this whole crime scene. This is going to be the first step in identifying at least the type of truck, and more than likely can lead to the identification of the person who rented the truck.
It was complete silence. It was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. I'm laying there thinking, this is it. No one's coming.
Already backed out once, I'm not backing out again. The area that Amy was in was real unstable. My worst fear was we came back, she would have been gone. You're racing the clock to get them out, and you can barely get to them, much less get them out.
And then I hear commotion, and I hear what sounds like men's voices.
When we first crawled down into what was deemed the pit, it was an incredibly scary place because you could still feel some of the vibration in the building. There was a fireman pulling things away from Amy to try to free her. At that moment, talking to her was all I could do to help.
There was a man who seemed very friendly. And I just remember feeling like when I heard his voice that there was somebody that was going to save me.
I'm a member of the Blackfeet Nation of Montana and the Wichita Tribe of Oklahoma. There's this whole camaraderie in those communities. If somebody's in need, somebody helps. I couldn't really imagine how Amy was still alive. There was this wedge, a huge slab of concrete that was laying at an angle. She was buried in tons of rubble, still in her office chair, the blood trails leading away from desks.
I remember him joking with me, and he took my hand and put it around a boot of somebody. It made me feel like someone was going to take care of me.
She said, if you guys can get me out of here, I'm gonna bake you chocolate chip cookies. And, I mean, it sounds as strange as hell to say it, but there was this calmness to what was going on right there.
I've never seen the likes of those poor little kids that, you know.
They're all buried under there still. We can't get to the kids.
I started moving over trying to find a place to put the rubble, and I found 2 more little kids underneath, you know.
I moved a piece of duck bark and there was a lady looking me in the face.
I couldn't believe it, man. I dear Lord.
We have the governor here. He's ready to go. People are clamoring for him. You better come to us right now.
Can you guys get in on this too?
I'm not kidding. You better go. We're going to get pulled away. Somebody's going to steal the governor if we don't do it now. Yes, Governor Keating is right here. Have you toured the scene? What can you tell us?
Well, it's unspeakable horror and tragedy for the families involved. Our sympathies and prayers for the perpetrators. We'll get them.
You're operating by the seat of your pants, really. I was not trained to respond to a building collapse and a bombing.
The number of casualties, injured and dead, are going to be very substantial. I know lots of the people in there. Well, it's Beirut. I mean, it's just incredible.
Governor Keating telling us about his tour through the scene.
Thanks, guys.
A while later, we were walking and I saw a firefighter coming up and I said, "Thank you very much for being here." He was rather harsh, and he said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "I'm the governor of the state." Then you would expect him to say, "Oh, Governor, nice to meet you." He didn't. He took his finger and he stuck it in my chest, and he said, "Well, then you find out who did this, because the only thing I pulled from that rubble was a child's finger and an American flag." And he stormed on up the street. He was angry, and who wouldn't be?
We set up a mobile command post and put together the investigative team. At that point, we had no specific clues other than the VIN number on the rear axle. So we get an agent to run the number through one of our databases. And then we get a call back that there was a hit. It matches to a Ryder truck rented out of Junction City, Kansas. One of my agents went down there, and we quickly learned that the truck had been rented by a Bob Kling. So now we have the name of Robert Kling. We don't know any Robert Kling. He doesn't appear in any of our databases, but at least we now have a name. So they find a mechanic who has the best recollection of what the renter looked like. So we sent a sketch artist out there to get a composite drawing of the suspect. This could be the breakthrough that we desperately needed.
Sir, based on that situation, we developed a recommendation to the State Federal Emergency Agency.
It was just such a blizzard. You're up to your eyeballs in trying to make sure that everything that needs to be done is being done. I was in our command center trying to get briefed by people there as to what they thought occurred.
We have one point down here that's controlling access of the recovery teams pulling the bodies in and out, taking them to the morgue area.
And then I was informed that the president wanted to talk to me.
I was just shell-shocked by the sheer scope of the killing. And I wanted us meaning the United States government, to be there for the state and for the city. So I called the governor of Oklahoma. I knew him when we were in college. He was actually a year or so ahead of me at Georgetown. Our politics were very different, but I knew that I was talking to somebody that, whatever the politics were, I trusted to be on the level.
He immediately said, "What in the world is going on? What help do you need from me?" And I said, "If you can send FEMA teams, then we're going to be in a position to respond as we should, save a lot of lives, and find out who did this."
I remember almost immediately, I said, everybody's going to think this is a foreign terrorist incident. But I thought it was very important not to make that assumption.
This is Susan. Deborah, it's going to be if you want to come in. As soon as ID walks in the door, we want him to send his tape back to the tape room. He's got great, awesome tape, he says.
It's just kind of like journalism 101. Who, what, where, why.
What we need to know is like a history of terrorism bombings in the U.S. I wonder if we have any tape of any of those. I mean, is there anything comparable?
Yeah, I mean, in Lebanon every day, but
not here.
Yeah.
It just got us thinking, why Oklahoma? Why today? From the moment that bomb went off, we just wanted to figure it out. And then viewers started calling in.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll pass it on. How do you do
You guys, can somebody find out, is this the second anniversary of Waco? Same day. Is it the same day it blew up?
That's why it's the 19th.
Same day Waco happened. 93.
In the newsroom, we started realizing what was really playing out and the correlation of April 19th. The fact that it was 2 years to the day since the end of the Waco Siege, there's like no way this could be a coincidence. And then we realized that some of the same government agents who had been at Waco worked in Oklahoma City, some of them in the Murrah Federal Building.
The Waco Siege was a standoff between the United States government and Texas law enforcement against a religious cult known as the Branch Davidians.
You had the leader of this cult, David Koresh, living on this compound with his followers and their families.
You will not be ashamed for all your sins you committed against me. Sounds good.
Do it!
It started off with the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency, receiving a complaint that
grenades were found in a shipment that was going to the Branch Davidians.
They fear inside his heavily armed fortress there is not only an arsenal of illegal weapons, but also hand grenades and rocket launchers.
They were violating the federal firearms laws. They're manufacturing machine guns illegally, making improvised explosive devices illegally. ATF obtained a search warrant for the Davidian compound, and ATF attempted to execute the search warrant.
I was with a small group of agents that were assigned to a sniper team.
In the gun battle with the Davidians, 4 of our agents were killed and 20 were wounded.
As a result of the total failure of that raid, the FBI was asked to come in and take over. I was the chief spokesperson for the FBI, and I also worked with the negotiators in trying to negotiate people out.
We're using non-lethal means. We are not assaulting the place. We had no FBI agents go into the compound, even though we have probably had over 200 rounds of ammunition fired at us.
After 51 days, the decision was made to tear gas the Branch Davidians to drive them out.
The Bradley armored vehicle begins to punch holes in the flimsy walls. A boom attached to the Bradley pumps non-lethal tear gas at 15-second intervals inside the compound. The FBI says the device is designed not to create sparks that could cause fire.
Once we tear gassed the place, after approximately 6 hours, the Branch Davidians decided to set the place on fire. Some people were coming up with these horrible theories about what the FBI had done, claims that we had prevented people from escaping from Waco, that we purposefully set fire to the Branch Davidian compound and assassinated, literally, those people inside.
I was at Waco, and at the end of the day, there was tragic loss of life. Children died that day, and that's raised a lot of controversy.
Unfortunately, 76 Branch Davidians died that day. When the bombing happened in Oklahoma City, we were thinking, well, maybe somebody was mad at us for Waco and was trying to get back at us.
Some extreme right-wing groups believed that the Davidians were attacked because of Second Amendment issues, because they owned weapons. So once we'd realized the correlation between the date of Waco and the date of the bombing, we suspected that the person we were after might have done this because they were angry at the government.
I had been trapped in the rubble for 6.5 hours. The firefighter says, "Amy, we're gonna count to 3 and we're gonna pull, and this is probably gonna hurt." And I said, "Do it, okay." And they counted to 3 and they pulled, and every nerve came alive in my body. But for the first time, I was out and I could see. They took me out of the back of the federal building on the gurney. But I remember looking at the sky and promising God that I will never live my life the same. I will never take it for granted.
Her coming out was euphoric for me. You can't imagine the exhaustion. All that frustration, I raced against the clock. We just won.
I know, Mom. I'm okay. I love you too.
Everything hurt, but I was so relieved to be out. And I see my husband, and I see the worried look on his face. And I looked at him and said, "So do you think this means that we can't close on our house tomorrow?" So I thought if I could make a joke, he would know I'm okay. you know, it's going to be okay.
My coworkers are my friends. I love them. I hope that they find them. I really hope they find them, and I hope they're alive.
I held out such hope that they were going to find everybody else. I just knew if they found me, they're going to find the others. They just have to get to them. But then, as people kept calling and asking, did I remember what this person was wearing or that person was wearing, and no one else was coming out of the building alive, then I'm realizing that they're trying to identify the bodies and they're wanting to know what they were wearing. I didn't realize that I was going to be one of the very last people that they got out of the building alive.
Stand by.
Okay. All right, guys, we're here at the Triage Center. We are east of where the building is. These nurses from this Triage Center, where we were anticipating they were going to be bringing some of the people who were wounded here. We've set up with about probably 300 to 400 volunteers here. And tell me your name and tell me what they've just told you here at this Triage Center.
My name's Joanne McCurley. They just told us that they found 80 people and only 2 were alive, and they told us all to go home.
Thank you. Ready to go? Oh, God.
You can't comprehend that at that time, so many people lost their lives, you know, in a moment's notice. It's devastating.
Wow! This whole people, how could people do this? It's sad, it's sad, it's sad. I can't believe this.
By the end of that night, it was like you felt like the whole world was shattered.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
I knew the country would be profoundly disturbed. I wanted to both comfort and reassure them and to steel their spines for whatever we might have to do to deal with it.
Good afternoon. Please be seated.
And all the time, I'm just thinking about all these kids that were killed at the daycare center. And it was particularly painful for me because a man who had been on my Secret Service security detail, Al Witcher, who we all thought was great. He had applied to transfer to Oklahoma City because he had little kids and he thought it would be a good place to raise his family. And the idea that somebody thought it was okay to snuff out his life and rob his kids of a father for whatever reason, I found insane.
Whoever did it, we will find out, and there will be justice that will be swift and certain and severe. And there is no place to hide. Nobody can hide any place in this country. Nobody can hide any place in this world from the terrible consequences of what have been done. This was an attack on innocent children, on innocent victims, on the people there in Oklahoma City. But make no mistake about it, this was an attack on the United States, our way of life, and everything we believe in. Thank you very much.
The artist's impression of the suspect was facts to us, and it gave us further confirmation and cemented what we'd suspected. He was not Middle Eastern. He was white with a crew cut, clean shaven, and was wearing military gear. Now we had to find this person and get them behind bars so they no longer pose a threat to other innocent life out there.
We flooded Junction City, Kansas with agents.
Did you notice a Ryder truck or a yellow truck?
Trying to find someone that had seen someone that looked like the artist's conception that had a Ryder truck.
How you doing today, sir? We're currently conducting an investigation on the Oklahoma City bombing.
We were going to business establishments, motels, restaurants, anywhere we could think of in the area, but nobody had seen anything. Then we tried the Dreamland Motel.
Leah?
The general manager says, matter of fact, I did see the young guy. He registered in room 25 as Tim McVeigh. Then we pull all of his telephone records, and we find out on Saturday night he calls a local Chinese food place. The name on the order was Bob Kling. So, lights go off. We now have a Timothy McVeigh. We don't know who he is. We have a Bob Kling. We don't know who he is. We know we got two names now that are connected with the bombing.
So we ran a search on one of our government databases for a name of Timothy James McVeigh. We find out there's a highway patrol trooper named Charlie Hanger. He remembers hooking up a guy on the morning of the bombing with the last name of McVeigh. And he was taken to Noble County Jail in Perry, Oklahoma. So I'm thinking, okay, we got something, maybe.
I hadn't thought too much about that arrest at all. My job was finished. Most people would have been released the next morning.
So I call up. I said, hey, listen, Charlie Hanger hooked an old boy up on Wednesday morning and brought him to your jail. Do you have any information on that? He said, yeah, well, hold on here for a second. And I'm talking, and about that time, everybody else seems to put their phone down. And it's just one of those just surreal moments. And so I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and waiting. He finally comes back, he goes, yeah, Mark, that guy that Charlie arrested? Yeah. He's still here. He goes, his name's Timothy James McVeigh. And I said, well, Sheriff, where is that guy right now? He says, well, I've got a deputy walking him over to court for his initial appearance. And that's when I said, well, Sheriff, do me a favor. Spin that old boy around and put him back in your hotel. There's going to be some federal boys come see you. He said, okay.
Well, Bob Rick said, I need you to go up there and get a lay of the place so that we can figure out how to get him out of there. I'm thinking I need to hurry up. So I hopped in the helicopter and we took off for Perry, Oklahoma. Perry is a small, quiet, rural Oklahoma community. It's about 80 miles from Oklahoma City. I made contact with the sheriff, and the first thing he did was took me straight to where McVeigh was. For us, the least amount of notice and commotion, the better.
My boss called me and said, you've got to get to Perry, Oklahoma. And I'm like, why? And they said, we think one of the suspects has been arrested and is in the Noble County Jail, and not a lot of people know about it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going.
We've had prayer, vision. I'm back on the air. I'm back here on the phone.
There was a news crew made it into the hallway at the courthouse, and they're filming, trying to find out what's going on. And I tell them, you've got to get out of here.
When we say, hey, did y'all arrest someone? Is there someone here that people are looking for? And they were like, get out. So we knew he's there.
Right after that, the phone started ringing. And there was a person there at the desk answering the phone. And she'd answer the phone and she goes, I don't know, but there's an FBI guy standing right here. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to. Well, it was the media that started calling. So I told the sheriff, I said, Sheriff, if they're calling, they're coming. I would bring in your reserves, the local police, maybe even the Boy Scouts if you need to have them, because it's going to get very active up here.
I am told now that we do have Robin Marsh on the phone. Tell us what you're seeing.
Well, I can tell you that there are media from all across the world in this small Oklahoma town. I've been talking with town folks here, and they just cannot believe the scene that has converged on the Noble County Courthouse. There are 2 Oklahoma Highway Patrol cars right at the door of the courthouse, and we're just all waiting.
Helicopters are still overhead, mostly media helicopters, and about, I'd say, 250, 300 people.
They wanted him to know how they felt.
I think they should have let him loose out front and let everybody have at him. We're taking to Oklahoma City and let all those people have at him.
McVeigh still had to be transported from Perry to Oklahoma City. But there is all kinds of commotion going on. I was thinking, oh my God, it's going to be crazy up here.
Police want to protect this man. We did hear some people in the crowd saying they had better protect him well because there are a lot of people in Oklahoma who would like to take a shot at him.
By now, these other agents got there and they're like, we got to go now.
Most of the sheriff's officials and things who have been closer to the door have all just kind of walked out. They're actually closer to this yellow tape, but we might want to just keep it here for a little bit because we're just getting the impression that something is going on. And that's the only reason why. 27-year-old Timothy McVeigh walked out of the Noble County Courthouse and loaded up into a brown van that is being taken away to Oklahoma City, where he will appear before a federal magistrate on charges for the bombing of the federal building in Oklahoma City Wednesday.
You never thought this would happen here. Never Oklahoma City, never home. It might even be harder to accept that it's an American who did this.
There goes Tim McVeigh, the first confirmed arrest in the Oklahoma bombing case.
We knew his name, but now we wanted to know who in the heck this man was. That was the question.
Timothy McVeigh, the lone suspect to be charged in the bombing so far, is under tight security as investigators try to figure out his exact ties to the tragedy. Despite being perhaps the most infamous man in America today, McVeigh remains a relative unknown, a loner with a shrouded past.